Hi everybody, it's Az here from Heel vs Babyface. Now, when I turned level 50 in Final Fantasy around Reborn, I could have easily been forgiven to be a little bit sceptical about what remained within the game. The reason why I say this is not because it's Final Fantasy, because a lot of MMOs struggle, and they struggle greatly when it comes to endgame content. Just look at Star Wars The Old Republic. I have a little bit of a tagline attached to this game, and I call it possibly the greatest single-player MMO ever created. It really is. The leveling up process in Star Wars The Old Republic is phenomenal. The storylines, the companions, everything that links together, oh, it's an absolute joy to behold. But then you hit top level, and the game fell apart. Absolutely fell apart at the seams. Now, I haven't been on for quite some time now, so I don't know how good a job, how bad a job they've done of trying to repair that. But at the time, it was pretty dour. There was very little to do whatsoever. World of Warcraft, Mists of Pandaria, has suffered from the very same thing. They tried something very weird and very different. When they got to level 90, they decided to cut your penis off. Yes, they just made the game such a grindy, horrible affair when you hit level 90, and then they hid all the items behind walls of vendors and stuff like that, and it just became horrific. There was no proper dungeons to do either. They were all so easy. I could go on, I could go on, I could go on. And that's quite weird, because World of Warcraft is quite synonymous for its tight endgame content, but this time, yeah, slightly off base. So, when I hit level 50 in Final Fantasy, I thought, what is there to do now? And I was actually rather surprised at a lot. And not only does it carry on your storyline, which means that you get still quest after quest after quest progressing your story, which I really, really like. That's one thing I've always wanted with MMOs, is that when you hit the top level, wherever you may be, it sends you off on a completely new story, as opposed to just saying, right, we've opened that dungeon, we've opened that PvP area, stuff like that. It's, you know, instead of just being kind of like a sandboxy area, I do still like the fact that it can say, well, hey, look, if you come to me, I'm going to set you off an adventure. And I really did like that. And that's exactly what Final Fantasy did. It set me off on another adventure. But when I found out that the primals that I had defeated throughout the course of leveling up, which was Ifrit, which was Titan, and Garada, something like that, Garada, suddenly you got to do these in hard mode difficulty. Now, there is a big difference, first of all, with how the parties are set up, because when I did fight Titan, Garada, and also Ifrit first time, we were in what is called light parties. And light parties compose of one tank, one healer, and 2 DPSs. This is now a full party. And a full party normally, not in this case, and I'll explain why in a second, normally comprises of 2 tanks, 2 healers, 4 DPS. So it's doubled the size of the group. Now we're actually doing Ifrit hard mode with only 1 tank. And that's because 1 tank can actually manage to do this fight on their own. You don't need an off tank to switch debuffs and stuff like that. This is all a fight about management of what's going on, what's going around the place. Now, let me kind of just explain what's going on a wee bit. Yes, because it's hard mode, new abilities have also been added to the game, and Ifrit, of course, is exponentially more difficult to defeat, because when we first had this fight, I think we were level 20, and if you defeated Ifrit, then your stock went up, and you had the grand companies start to woo you of the major cities. Come join our grand company, come join our grand company. And I actually decided to go with the Maelstrom, because it's where the bulk of my characters are on the World of Warcraft. I just wanted to link it all together. Now, this apparently also, though, is the easiest by far. That's a quote from somebody. The easiest by far of all the primal hard modes. So let me kind of go on tactically what is going on. Now, I am a healer now, as opposed to a DPSer, which is a big difference for me. So it's my job to try and keep this tank and the rest of the guys and girls alive as best possible. And I've got the help of another healer, who I believe is a white mage. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the symbol for a white mage. So we've got two different classes of healer, and we've got one tank, and then we've got the rest, so that's 5 DPSs. And the reason why we decided to go with one tank and 5 DPSs as opposed to 2 is because we get into a very difficult phase that if you don't complete it, like all the primals have, if you don't complete something within an allotted time during the fight, then the boss will basically do a wipe mechanic. Now, the tank kind of positions him at the top, at the end of one of the rings. And by the way, when you got the sound up, you can hear the fire crackling around you. It's really atmospheric. And he'll do the breath, which you can see definitely hurts the tank rather a lot. So I've got enough to heal through. What I'd like to do as well as a healer is I have like 2 different types of shield. I've got one which goes on the player, which I just stuck on, and then also this bubble, this shell, this dome which I've dropped as well. And what that will do is anybody that stands in there will have their damage reduced by 10%. So melees, if you've got me as a healer, I'm looking after you, Brad. I'm looking after you. You're my baby Blue. You're my boy Blue. And all that kind of stuff. Then also we have the mechanics where Ifrit will teleport out of the fight, and then images of Ifrit will appear around the side. There we go. It starts off with 1, and they shoot across the field really quickly. If you are caught in that, you may be one shot, you may not be one shot, but if you don't die, put it this way, you will be on bingo health. You will have virtually no health left whatsoever. And it starts with just 1 image, it then goes to 2 images, and it will actually end the fight with 3 Ifrits bouncing across the battlefield. So you have to be very careful where to position yourself when they come in, because you do not have a lot of time to react. You then get these molten cores on the floor that you just move yourself out of. You don't have that much time to do so. And you can just see to my left there, you also have these kind of like molten bombs which land on the ground as well. So you just step out of them, move out of them as quickly as you possibly can. And when I say as quickly as you possibly can, this is Final Fantasy. This is not a different MMO. So move as quickly as you possibly can, because if you drops on you and you stay to finish off your cast, then decide to move, the chances are the ability is already locked on that you've been hit and you will get kaboomed. So you see it on you, move immediately. Even if it interrupts your cast, just move immediately. Okay? Now this is why we decided to go for 1 tank and 5 DPSs. We have got the Infernal Nails, and there are 4 of them this time as opposed to 1 in the original fight. And why we decided to go through the first phases very slowly, we were building up the limit breaks, because we wanted to use the limit breaks on the nails to destroy them as quickly as possible. Look how well we did there. And here would come the one-shot mechanic if the nails were still active. And look, we still took a staggering amount of damage. But because all the nails were destroyed really quickly, we survived. So this became very intensive for me as a healer now to try and get everybody up back to full health, or at least decent health, as quickly as possible, while also making sure that the tank took as least damage. And here we go. 3 Ifrits now. Boom, boom, and boom. Flying across the screen. You could see that some people got hit and they took a lot of damage. A summoner got hit, and I'm not quite sure what the symbol for the other one is. I'm still learning the game. I'm still pretty new to the game. So yes, that's what happens if you let Ifrit run all over you. Personally, it probably would have one-shot somebody like myself, because I've only got 2,900 health at this point. They've got... Well, someone had 2,900 ones. Maybe, maybe not. Put it this way, I wouldn't want to find out. But again, you've got to still keep dodging the mechanics which lie on the floor, and they become more and more and more after the nails have been defeated. Suddenly, we had a nice few which would pop on, and I found as if I was moving myself out of them pretty easily. But this time, after the nails have been defeated and Ifrit goes into the final phase, it feels as if they're filling the whole of the floor, and you only have a very short space with which to move to a safe zone. Look at us, we're now basically getting bunched up, because when those bombs, when those cores, those molten kind of like cores appear on the floor, if you don't find somewhere safe, you're gonna take staggering damage. And look, we've just lost our healer. Oh, thankfully somebody managed to do a combat res and get the second healer back in. I should have said the other healer, of course. I'm the other healer. So we lost one of the healers, so I had to bear the brunt momentarily. And Ifrit has still got, what, 22% of its health left. So there is still a little whiles to go. I wouldn't have liked to have attempted to continue the fight with only this one healer, especially considering it was me. And I was recently in a heroic dungeon, and I will bring you heroic dungeons for Final Fantasy as well later on. And I think it was the Manor House one. If you play Final Fantasy, you'll know which one I'm going to. Haku Manor or something like that. And I had item level of 54, I think it was, when we completed that. And at the end of it, I had some well-geared tanks, excuse me, well-geared tanks and some well-geared DPSs. But at the end of it, the tank said to me, he said, healer, he said, for your gear, because your gear is not very high at 54. And I was like, okay. He's like, for your gear, you did a great job. And I was just like, oh, thanks, dude. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. And I just thought that was a lovely thing to do. And the reason why he said that is because heroic dungeons are heroic. And you will actually see the meaning of that word again. I think they're called hard mode dungeons in this game as opposed to heroic, which gets called in WoW. But look, do you see how much movement I've still got to do here within the fight? And I'm not exactly helping myself as a healer a little bit, because I may have got Scholar to level 50, but I still need to get my other classes a little bit higher so I can pilferage abilities from them. Yes, you can actually pilferage abilities from certain other classes. So if I get, for example, my Scholar, my Conjurer up to level 34, then I believe I can nick something like Swiftcast or something like that from them. And then I can put that onto my Scholar tab, and it just makes my life a little bit easier. Oh, look at that! Oh, we just lost the Summoner. We just lost the White Mage. I think I actually got caught, potentially by Ifrit there. Maybe, maybe not. It looked really, really close. And now we've lost another one, so we're down to 3. But we managed to get the White Mage back up again, and Ifrit's on bingo health. Oh, he's down. Oh my giddy aunt. Now that, to me, is a proper fight. That really is. And this is the easiest of the primals, okay? That is the easiest, apparently, of the hard mode primals. But it was fun, and it was exciting, and I felt under pressure. Yes, maybe it was because my gear's not great. Maybe it's because a lot of the people here were probably here for the first time as well, and seasoned veterans, well, they might be able to just steamroller through this. But it was all very, very exciting for D. And yes, it drops a treasure chest, and yes, it drops loot. Now then, that was for a Lancer, a Dragoon, and it's not for me. So that's the sad news. The good news is I had to come back to Ifrit to do my relic quest. And this is a long quest chain to get yourself an unbelievable sexy weapon. It's actually a purple weapon, the first purple I've actually seen in the game. And I had to come back here because you've got to defeat all the primals on hard mode as part and parcel of the quest chain. And when I came back here, did Ifrit again, and when we defeated Ifrit, it dropped this. Yes, it dropped this weapon, and this just looks unbelievable. This grimoire that Ifrit dropped for me, and it will tie me over in the meantime. It gave me an incredible stat boost. I think it boosted my stats by at least 10 a pop, which was staggering. So I've got something to tie me over in the meanwhile. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Hard mode, Ifrit. Please do like, comment and subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and also twitch.tv/heel versus babyface for live streaming. And I shall be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everybody. Bye-bye.